Good evening. Good evening, Tux. How are we doing, mate?
Good, mate. Self?
Yes. Welcome, one and all. This is Talking Town. We've gone live within about 15 minutes of the news. Ipswich Town delighted to confirm the loan signing of striker KIEFFER Moore from AFC Bournemouth. The Ford moves to Portman Road on a deal until the end of the season, becoming the Blues' fourth signing the January transfer window. KIEFFER returns to Portman Road following a spell. We'll talk about that in a minute, Tux. Between 17 and 18, following which he's been a regular scorer at championship level, has played and scored in the Premier League and has won 39 international caps for Wales. He's going to wear the number 24 shirt. A couple of comments from the big man. It's great to finally get it over the line because it's been a long time coming during the window. KIEFFER told Town TV, I remember my first spell here. I've gone away and worked very hard on myself during that time, so I'm delighted to be back and can't wait to get going. I was really excited when I spoke to everyone here, and now I just want to meet the group, get on the pitch, and contribute. So, Tux, initial thoughts?
Buzzing. I think for me, we've signed some decent players since Game Changer come in, Ashton, McKenna have come in, but this is a signing that I'm very excited about, purely because of his goal scoring record, obviously. But I think he brings that kind of that experience that we need at a vital time in the season. So for me, it's a great signing, and hopefully he can prove a few doubters wrong as well, because obviously he was here before, didn't score any goals, played 10, 11 games or whatever it was. So I'm hoping that he can, prove a few people wrong. But also, in a weird way, it's probably a bit of an upgrade on George Hurst anyway. I know he's injured, but that's a type of striker that we need, and he is slightly different to Hurst, but what he does bring, as I say, is those goals, and that's what we need.
Yeah, look, he's 31. He's experienced, 39 caps for Wales, 12 goals. He's played 382 career games, touched 122 goals. And obviously, look, the spell at Town, 17, 18, when he signed. I see him play for Yeovil when Mick was in charge. And then he obviously signed. Wasn't a successful time. Like you said, 11 games, no goals. But he's really progressed since then. And look, I just hope everyone... Look, I think we can all say he wasn't the greatest when he was initially at Town. But I just hope everyone gives him a fair crack of the whip. And don't remember what he'd done back then, because he's a much better player now. Look, he was at Rotherham, scored goals. Obviously, we sent him on loan. Then he went to Barnsley. And he scored goals everywhere. Wigan, Cardiff, and then obviously Bournemouth. And he helped them get promoted, got some vital goals to them. So he's got that on his CV. He's got that promotion, brings experience. I think he'll be really good around the group. I think Kieran mentioned that as well, because obviously it's all about we could be linked with a lot of players, Tux, but it's got to be that right character as well, hasn't it? It's not just all about the ability on the pitch, is it? It's a lot that comes with that, I think. Yeah,
definitely. I feel like that this signing, in a sense, is a game-changing sort of signing, really. It's kind of a signing of intent for the rest of the season going forward. So, I'm pleased we've got it done, because I preferred him over someone like from Gallagher from Blackburn. I think it always goes down to the kind of goal record. Obviously, Gallagher wasn't playing a lot for Blackburn, probably still won't for the rest of the season. So, sometimes things are meant to be, and I feel like KIEFFER Moore coming here, he's got unfinished business after his first spell. He knows he can play at this level. He scored goals before. So I think he's up for the challenge as well. I feel like, he knows he's coming here. He's going to play games. He's probably going to be the main man, because Hurst is injured. We're crying out for a striker. So when you think about the amount of chances we're creating, and, you got to look at last weekend where, 38 shots on target, plus all the chances we were creating, plus all the misses that we had off target. So if you've got a striker at the end of the pitch who wants to get his head on it, who wants to score, then that's when those chances then get converted.
I think you would make a really good point there, saying about like up for the challenge, because I think Cardiff were in as well for him.
Yeah.
I know that was pretty much, that was sort of last minute. I was reading about a couple of hours ago they were in, and I was talking to Wes's dad. I've been exchanging messages with him about the last 3 days, and he said he's big mates with Aaron Ramsey down at Cardiff, so he'd had Ramsey in his ear,
Yeah.
and it's good that he's not made. For me, if he'd have gone to Cardiff, that'd have been the easy move.
Yeah.
You know, he's come to town, like you say, and he's hoping, and we all hope. Nobody knows what's going to happen because in football, anything could happen. But he's obviously coming here, and there's a lot of people he's probably wanting to prove wrong. You know, just for him, just when he looks at his career record, and he probably looks at that, and it probably sticks out a bit of a red flag in it when he's back at town under McCarthy. And I'd say then, did he really have an opportunity to play games? Not really, because he was mainly coming off the bench. And I don't think he actually. As to my mind, Tux, I don't think he actually started a game for Town under McCarthy.
Well, I think the point being is that when he was here, yeah, it wasn't going so well under McCarthy, and it's probably the way of football that he wasn't accustomed to, in a sense. But I feel like obviously McKenna plays a different level of football now, so he's going to get more chances, he's going to get more opportunities. But as well, you know, I think when I can't remember what team it was that he went on loan to, and he scored a few goals, and then he got his move to, was it Barnsley or Rotherham?
Yeah, he went to Rotherham, didn't he? He went to Rotherham, and then he came back to Town. And even then, I thought at the time, he's gone to Rotherham away on loan. And credit to him, he went there and scored quite a lot of goals.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But he still didn't get a look in, and then we sold him to Barnsley. I think it was about 750k. So we made money on him when he'd played the game. So you're looking at that was quite good business. But obviously for him, he's probably disappointed that he's not had that opportunity at Town. But what do you think he brings then to the table? Obviously, physicality is probably one of the first things you look at with the size of him.
Yeah, well, you know, he's obviously going to be a threat in kind of either box, really, in a sense that he can help defend, but also get the goals from set pieces. And obviously, since Hurst's been injured, we've kind of lacked that sort of focal point up front. And I think it's that kind of strength and power that we need, obviously with his height, but generally, you know, it goes with the experience of him playing championship level, scoring goals. He knows where the net is. So, you know, it's such an exciting signing. It's a player that we desperately need. And it'll just be interesting to see, you know, how McKenna kind of utilises him further. But I feel like, you know, certainly he knows players here. Like he's got Broadhead, Wes Burns, obviously from international level that he knows them very well at. So, you know, he's coming here, and as I say, he's got that sort of point to prove, and I think he's up for that challenge. And I know you mentioned about Cardiff earlier, and I think Sunderland will link with him as well. But you know, he's coming into a team that are on the verge of something quite special here. You know, so I think it'd be a bit silly not to come here and go to somewhere like Cardiff or Sunderland. And I get, like, obviously he's Welsh, so he's probably got family from Cardiff and all that sort of stuff. And you know, Sunderland is a great sort of footballing community, but have they got a better chance of promotion than us? No. So, you know, he wants that at the end of the season. He wants that on his CV, that he's got a promotion, and if he can contribute with goals, then it'll be a bonus for him as well.
I think he might have played as well with Leif Davis, because Davis was on loan at Bournemouth when they got promoted. So, look, wouldn't it be great? Them balls that Leif pops across, you know, you think any striker worth their weight in gold tucks would be chomping at the bit to get onto the end of some of them. And I think I said, when people have been going on about Nathan Broadhead struggling the last few games, I did say, you know, I think he's missed George Hurst, that the link up that he had that relationship with himself, with Chaplin, you know, and Hurst brought so much more to the team. So hopefully, with Moore coming in, playing that role, hopefully that can bring the best out of Broadhead, because we need Nathan Broadhead firing. And you look at now, we've got a lot of riches in the forward areas, haven't we? You know, your strikers, you got obviously KIEFFER Moore, Al Hamadi, you know, we signed him start of the week. I know everyone bemoans him, but you've got Caden Jackson, Sarmiento, Hutchinson, Chaplin, Broadhead. We're blessed, aren't we, really, I think, at that top end of the pitch. Yeah,
well, it's just getting them playing, and, you know, obviously it might take a couple of games for him to really sort of gel a little bit. And, you know, I hate that word gel, but, you know, it's fact sometimes. You know, when you come through the door, and obviously a couple of new players in those, especially in those forward areas, they've got to gel and come together and play together, really. So it will be interesting. And, you know, obviously got the lad from Wimbledon who's just come in. Obviously, he's not going to want to sit on the bench and do nothing and watch Kieffer Moore play. So
I think that takes the pressure off him, though, Tux. You know,
Yeah.
because if we'd have only signed him, there'd have been massive expectation on his shoulders to come in, get the goals, and to get us where we want to go.
Yeah.
And I think now that gives him a little. Kieffer Moore's been around the block. He knows all about the Championship, knows the ins and outs of it. So that gives him a chance to just settle in, bed in. He'll probably be used off the bench, I'd have thought, to start with. And just, I said the other day about him, don't expect too much too soon of him. Because he's a young lad. And I loved his interview. He was really positive, and I think he's going to be a real asset to Town. But this is taking the pressure off him. And if we hadn't got another striker in, I think that a lot of fans would probably been a little bit worried. But with Moore coming in, we can just hope that he hits the ground running. He's not played a great deal of football. He played in the FA Cup, so he has been playing some games. I think he's come off the bench for Bournemouth. So straight into the team Saturday, do you think? Do you throw him straight in?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. Obviously, with other players coming in, and you know, obviously El Mohammadi's got 27 goals, and you know he's been scoring all this year. So if anything, you might want to go on kind of current form. But you know what McKenna's like. He doesn't just put anyone in for the sake of it. He's very methodical in terms of his approach to any team or any game. So
I think you're right there, because the only one really, I think, like he had to play Travis, didn't he, when he signed him, because obviously the suspension of Sam Morsey. So it wouldn't surprise me if Moore does start on the bench. You know, I wouldn't be surprised. People might think I'm mad. I wouldn't be surprised if Caden Jackson started on Saturday up front. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, I think obviously with Jackson, obviously, you know, he's probably got a bit of confidence because he's been scoring of late. You know, been playing quite well in the last couple of games. So, you know, would you want to take him out and then sort of destroy his confidence? Possibly not. But I suppose it also depends how much, you know, training that, you know, someone like Kieffer Moore or anyone else gets from that point of view. But as I say, you know what McKenna's like. You know, you think that you can pick a side or your best 11 on paper, but he mixes it up because he wants to match that kind of opposition and sort of nullify any threat they've got. So, yeah, I agree. I wouldn't be surprised if Jackson starts, but you know, I think on paper certainly Kieffer Moore is your main striker.
We have Martin has dropped a link in the chat, so if you do want to come on and have your say, hit that link. We've got Phil waiting. I think he's going to come in if Gov hits the link.
We got Kieffer Moore, so we got Kieffer Moore. We got Kieffer Moore, so we got Kieffer Moore. We are going up, so we are going up.
Obviously, you're a bit excited, Phil.
Yes.
There we go. Look, there we go. The first negative comment in the chat there. Mike must be the only one who absolutely thinks Moore is shit. So he's the only negative voice that I have heard so far. But it's all, Phil, it's all about opinions, mate. It's all about opinions. What are you making of it? What do you think? Happy?
I'm happy as Larry, mate.
I thought you might.
We got a Welsh sandwich in attack going forward. Brody, Burns and Moore.
See, I don't think they've played a lot together, Tux, have they, for Wales, the national team, them three? I don't think they might have had a few minutes, maybe, but I don't think they've probably started the three of them.
No, I think it's probably Moore and Broadhead that have played together a bit more. Obviously, Burns hasn't played an awful lot for Wales, so yeah, with that in mind, they certainly haven't played together a lot. But yeah, I think, you know, it doesn't really matter, does it? I mean, you know, they're all quality players that we've got. So as long as they gel, as I said earlier, that's kind of the main thing.
I think when I was talking to Mike earlier, Phil, and he said about Kieffer Moore, I think a lot of people think big physical striker, long ball football. I think he's a better footballer than people give him credit for, Phil.
For footballing terms, I mean, you cannot doubt the experience that he's got in him at Premier League level. You know, there's gonna be a lot of Championship clubs. You know, they're looking at this and thinking, shit, it could have been us. You know, but we've got him. You know, we've got him. We've got that Premier League experience in Kieffer Moore. We've got a player who, let's face it, should be scoring a lot of goals at this level. And you know, we're a team in the ascendancy, and like you just said a moment ago there, Tux, that you know we're on the verge of something special, and I think Kieffer Moore is a player that knows that. He knows that, and he's got players here at this club that he knows and will hopefully should play well with, you know. And I'm just excited that we've got a player. I'm saying, you look at all the previous transfer window deadline days over, I don't know, God knows how many years, right? And so you compare the striker that we've just signed. I'm gonna say I can't really think of probably even one player that I can think of that we signed maybe on transfer deadline day in the January transfer window, because let's face it, it's a notoriously awkwardly difficult window to negotiate. And we've got a player of some good quality here and the experience that we need. Yes, he's not. I'm going to say, look, Town fans shouldn't have expected to sign George Hurst 2.0, because George Hurst is George Hurst. He's unique. He plays the way that he's, been made and knows how to play football. We've just signed another forward player that knows how to score goals, not just at championship level, but in the Premier League. And I think it's that experience that's going to be invaluable to us in the last 18 games of this season, And look, I'm just so happy right now that we've managed to secure that one number 9 player that's been missing from our starting 11 jigsaw since Boxing Day. I would say Jackson, he's done okay. He certainly made a good contribution in the win against Sunderland. But I just think now that, this for me is the one missing piece in our second half of the season campaign. And I'm just looking forward to the last 18 games now. I'm looking forward to the Preston game, more than what I was just half an hour or so ago. And just looking forward to getting to more away games, hopefully, in the coming weeks, and hopefully seeing KIEFFER Moore get on the score sheet.
Well, you got Peter Graham here in the chat, Tux. I don't know if you've seen his comment. He says, not impressed. Moore doesn't have a good goals to game ratio and he's past his best. Should have got somebody better. It's all right saying we should have got someone better, but there's not exactly number 9s jumping off the page all over the leagues for me. It's a hard rule. It's a hard role to fill, I think.
Yeah, it is. But for me, I don't think there is anyone better, is there? At this point.
Is it all about goals? Is it all about goals? Because he says
no,
goals
exactly.
to games ratio, but it's not, is it? In the role that that number
well,
9
you look
plays
at you look at like George Hurst before he got injured. I can't remember how many goals he's got.
He got 6,
5, 6, something like that, right?
6, yeah.
So, the upgrade that you've got on George Hurst is that I agree. I think KIEFFER Moore is a good player and probably doesn't get enough credit for him. Yes, he's not particularly skillful, but what he will do is lay the ball off to people. But the difference being with him in Hurst is that he can finish very well. I'm not saying that George Hurst can't, but the point being is that, left foot, right foot, outside the box, poacher finish, KIEFFER Moore can do that. So for me, he is that typical number 9 that we've been crying out for. That's why he is better than a Gallagher that was going to potentially come in for me. So yeah, I agree with Phil. I'm absolutely buzzing for it. But what else is? What other option was there?
Also, I think that KIEFFER, I would say George's contribution, whenever he plays, is maybe slightly undervalued by some Town fans because of the work rate that he puts in.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what's the word? Sort of an unthankful kind of way of
thankless.
Playing, I guess.
It's a bit of a thankless task, isn't it, playing that lone role up front?
KIEFFER Moore is going to provide that aerial threat that we've not necessarily had from set. I would expect him to score 2 or 3 goals with his head from a set play, like a Leif Davis free kick or a Burns corner or something. Leif Davis corner or something like that. We've now got a better threat in the goal area from set pieces, and I think historically, what was it before last season? Our record from set pieces was pretty poor. I think that he's the type of player that would help that.
I think Crunch. I don't know. For me, if I'm KIEFFER Moore, I'm sitting there rubbing my hands with Leif Davis.
That's what I said, didn't I, earlier? You look at the delivery he's got. He's a different player. When I was watching that game Saturday, Tux, and I see Cameron Humphreys playing at left wing back, and there was a couple of times in that first half when the ball's gone out to him, and if it's Leif there, he'll take a touch and he'll whip it in. Cameron Humphrey's new to that position, took a touch, and he'd play backwards a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But with Davis, obviously, he don't take long. He gets that ball out of his feet, and he can whip it in either along the floor or in the air. So, look, I think it's a great signing. It makes me chuckle when you see fans still complaining. Well, we're like 4 hours away from, 2 hours now from the deadline closing. It's like, who else do you really want to sign? You know, it's.
I think we've got our number one target. I think that was, that was the number one target for me was KIEFFER Moore. You possibly could say Gallagher because we had a few bids turned down for him, but on paper, when you actually look at it and you compare the two, KIEFFER Moore, wins hands down. So, in terms of that striker that we've been crying out for, then yeah, I think he was the number one target. And as I say, I don't think there is a better option. If you can name one, great, but I can't think off the top of my head.
So here we go. Hamish says in the chat, fans should remember some of the dross we've had in attack over the last decade.
Yeah.
Well, people could come back with that and say KIEFFER Moore was part of that, Phil. But this is a new KIEFFER Moore, and this is KIEFFER Moore. It was 17, 18 when he was last at the football club, and the football club has massively changed both on and off the pitch since then. And he probably walked in the building today, and he probably didn't even notice the place.
Yeah, I would say, and he's now playing under a coach that has, let's face it, I mean, so up to this point, he's actually got a good track record of, working with and improving players' performances and their confidence. Look, KIEFFER Moore may not need, his confidence level improving. Okay, I mean, say McKenna has got the number 9 striker that he needs that will come in, hit the ground running like you've been saying the last couple of weeks, and he's look. I think that he will improve maybe one or two other players that will be playing with him as well. There's that aspect as well. I think that's what he can offer. It's just experience, and when he first joined the club, what was it, 10 or more years ago, just having a look to see what he was like playing for Yeovil, the sort of forward that he wasn't the quickest, but I was actually quite impressed with his footwork, and he can hold the ball up. He can hold that ball up. He can finish with his feet. So he does, he's not all about height and stature and strength. I think he'll fit in just fine. I think that, he'll get the goals that, it's not, I'm saying we create chances. We create a lot of chances. And I wouldn't be surprised if he scores, plays and scores against Preston on Saturday.
We're commenting here from the chat. Sean O'Halloran says, move over Lewis Hamilton. KIEFFER Moore's transfer is of higher importance, Tux.
Yeah,
obviously. Have you got one more point to add, Phil, before we're going to bring in Frank?
I would say one more thing is, are we going to see Brandon Williams back at the football club?
Well, that's a really good question. That is. Hopefully, we'll probably find out tomorrow. I think Kieran will probably do his presser before they head up to Preston. So, but look, still got 3 hours to go, Phil. You never know.
Yep,
Could be some more business. But thanks for jumping on, and I'll probably see you on Sunday. Oh, he's still here. Martin. Oh, he's disappeared. Hopefully, Martin's going to bring in Frank as well.
I'm here. I'm just putting me...
Get your hats on.
Yeah.
I did actually... Good evening, Frank Hutton Rung. Hope you're good. I did actually say in the summer, Frank, he was on my shopping list, KIEFFER Moore. And obviously, we didn't get him then. And obviously, you were... I've seen quite a few of your videos. You've been banging the KIEFFER Moore drum for a few weeks, haven't you?
I have indeed, and I have to say thanks to the Mole who informed us all last night that was going to happen. There were a few little complications pertaining to that, but I was confident when I got that text message it was going to happen. Nearly always he's right, and he's very reluctant to, I say he, so it's not the canteen lady, but he's very reluctant to reveal anything. He's pretty cautious about it, but normally when he gives me information, it tends to be quite accurate. I've been a KIEFFER Moore fan from the first time he was with Ipswich in 2017. You look at his record since, with Rotherham United, 2017 to 18, 22 appearances, 13 goals. Barnsley, 51 appearances, 21 goals. And then with Cardiff for the last couple of seasons, 64 appearances, 25 goals. 39 caps for Wales, 12 international goals, which is averaging around about 1 in 3. So I think there's every reason to be positive about this signing. I was never a Sam Gallagher fan, to be honest. The one thing you said, though, I remember, Rich, about KIEFFER Moore, he's not mobile enough. He's not me. He won't fit in. You said that to me only a few times.
I did say that. Yes, I did say that. We will see how that goes. I think he's a little bit different than George Hurst.
He is.
Because Hurst is... But Kieran did say, Frank, that Hurst was sort of a real sort of a one-off, you know, with obviously with his hold-up play, but with his running. I mean, George Hurst, Tux, whenever he comes off that field, absolutely left it all out there and he's absolutely drained. So hopefully KIEFFER Moore can bring that as well to the party because he's going to have to, isn't he, really?
Well, I think it's the plan B for me, though, isn't it? It's when George Hurst has kind of run his race at, 70 minutes, whatever it is. You then had to bring on somebody like Ladapo or a Jackson. And, you know, depending on the game, it probably wasn't they weren't the right players. But, you know, when you've got El Hamidi coming on for maybe a KIEFFER Moore or vice versa, then, you know, suddenly that's 2 quality strikers again, isn't it?
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, I did say at the start of the show, Frank, if you look now at all the attacking options that we've got, we are very blessed, aren't we, in the front areas of the pitch?
We are, and it just needed that final piece of the jigsaw because, as you alluded to, and a lot of other people have suggested, George Hurst runs his socks off. I mean, he's almost unique in the modern game that he never stops running. To replace him was almost impossible. The next best thing you can do is get a big 6'5" physical striker who can score goals at every level. Even in the Premiership, he scored 2 goals for Tottenham. They lost 3-2 to Bournemouth, but he scored 2 goals for them. And he's done it at every level, international level, Premiership level, 8 goals, I think, in 30-odd games, and most of them are from the subs bench. So I think it's a great signing for Ipswich. I really do. He's come on leaps and bounds since the last time he was here, by the way. So, and he's a sort of... reaching the peak of his striking career at about 31. I mean, Jamie Vardy's 37 now, still playing, but he's the exception to the rule, isn't he, as a striker? But I think if we get a good season out of him, it could make the difference between Ipswich going up or just staying put.
Well, we do have to say hats off again to Mark Ashton, Tuts, because obviously last January delivered there 4 players. This January you got Lewis Travis signed, Sarmiento, El Hamidi, KIEFFER Moore today. So he's given Kieran probably what he wanted, you know, and now it's up to Kieran to go and hopefully put it all together on the pitch and have a really successful second half of the season. Look, can we get second? Look, nobody knows what's going to happen. You've just got to look at the run that Southampton are on. But now, I think as a fan, you should be really, really excited, shouldn't you, Tux? If you're looking at them final 18 games to see what we can achieve. Yeah,
definitely. I completely agree with your sentiment about Ashton, and you know, he's been absolutely top draw since he's come to the club, and you know, he's kind of put his money where his mouth is, I suppose, in a sense. But I think it's kind of testament that Ashton will go out and get the player for McKenna that McKenna wants, because you know, he trusts McKenna, and it seems like the board trusts McKenna as well. So, you know, why wouldn't you? Because obviously he's doing a very good job. But you know, I think, you know, and also your point about will we get second? Who knows? Obviously, it's down to our kind of run and obviously Southampton's run at present. But you know, whether we do sort of slip off a little bit, KIEFFER Moore is certainly the player that you want in around the squad to really give that sort of chance that you know, when you're not playing well, like he's a type of striker that will go and finish a goal for you. So I think it's a great sign, as I say.
Go on, Frank.
I was just saying experience is key too, because he will bring with him a lot of experience of playing at a higher level. And I think the players will tune into his experiences, playing at a higher level, playing at international. And, of course, Nathan Broadhead and Wes Burns are his workmates, almost, for Wales, aren't they? So they will know each other. So he doesn't come in as a complete stranger either, you know? So that's another big plus, I think, for him. I'm really excited. The only thing I'm a little bit concerned about, we were talking about a defender, a centre back. There's no news on that front. I'm getting nothing from the Mole about it.
We don't really need one, do we? Because we've got Cameron Burgess to come back. Obviously, Elkan Bagot's gone out. Frank, touching on centre half, he's gone to Bristol Rovers for the rest of the season, which I think is a good move for him. He needs to go and play football. For me, he's obviously played in the Asia Cup for Indonesia, but I think he really needs Elkan now I don't know if Cameron Humphreys might go out between now and 11 o'clock maybe, but I think as far as Baggett's concerned, I think that's a really good move for him, Frank.
Yeah, probably. The only slight worry is if we don't get another centre back and we give him Baggett out. I mean, we were all talking about why on earth did we get rid of Freddie Ladapo without replacing him, you know, and there was no sign of a replacement at that stage. Well, there was a lot of rumours, and Jay Stansfield of Birmingham at one stage, that seemed like a hot deal, and then it just faded out as it did with Sam Gallagher. And you know,
I think you've got four centre halves. You've got Twanzebe, Wolfenden, Edmondson, and Burgess when he comes back. Baggett's fifth in line, so you don't really need. I see they were linked with Tux today. I think there was a little bit of chat about Paul Dummett from Newcastle. I think
yes, I saw that.
I think they'd had some talks, but sort of. Do you think we need another centre half, Tux?
Not a centre half. No, I think it's really more about the full back positions, especially if Williams isn't coming back. I think for me, Humphreys has still got a lot to learn in that position. It's not his natural position. I think maybe one of the reasons why you see him not roared forward from a left back position is because he is, normally he normally has the ball at his feet from a midfield position and trying to keep the ball. So I feel like he's got work to do to be a good sort of left wing back. And I think he can be, but obviously he needs games to do that, I think. And obviously he's not going to be getting ahead of Davis anytime soon. So he would, I think, benefit from a few games, especially now we're not in any of the cups. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's all important that these young players, Frank, I've said before, it's all right getting them alone, but you need to really get them the right club. Because you look at Baggett last season, he was at Gillingham. Then he went to Cheltenham in League One. He didn't hardly play a game. So that was a sort of wasted sort of 6 months where hopefully he's gone to Bristol Rovers. I know Charlie down there who does their pod. They haven't got no left-sided centre-backs. So hopefully he'll drop in there and he can play, 18, 19 games from now to the end of the season, get that under his belt. And then if he comes back next summer, has a good pre-season, you don't know. Because he's really talented, Elkenbag. I really do like him. But where we're going as a club, I think now we've got that, where we didn't have it before, Frank, where we probably did have to rely on some youngsters. We can sign these players now. We've got the finances. Getting back to Kieffer Moore, I think they said Town are going to be paying, 75% of his salary, Frank.
That's shocking, actually, because the average is between 30% and 50%, and if it's 75% on the salary, I don't believe that, by the way. I don't think it'll be 75%. I think at the max it'll be about half, 50%. 75, it's unheard of. A loan deal that the player is, that the club is paying 75% of his salary, unless Ipswich is so desperate to get him. Yeah, we are at that 11th hour of the window where obviously it was rumoured we'd bid $2 million for Sam Gallagher, Frank. So obviously that money we've not paid out for him. I don't know, would there be a loan fee, Tux, do you think, for Kieffer Moore that you'd have to pay?
I would have thought so, yeah.
Yeah.
It tends to be probably, as Frank says, that kind of desperation sort of time. They'll probably add in, some sort of fee. So, and they'll probably know they're going to get it because they know we've got a bit of money to spend. So I think, it wouldn't be surprised.
But Marvin Johnson was the other guy, and you corrected me, Rich, when I took it from other sources and it said he was Ipswich had bid 1 million. And I thought, hang on, 1 million for a player who's 34 years of age with a struggling team at the bottom of the championship. Why would you ever consider spending 1 million? And it was nearer. The mould corrected the 750,000. He said it was 75,000, and I think the final bid Ipswich made was 100,000, which I think should be about the max for a player who's 34 and going nowhere except backwards.
But we have still got. I think we've still got just over 3 hours. Frank, do you think we'll do any other business?
I think exactly as was suggested here, that if there's any business done, it'll be for a wing back, not a central defender. And you never know, Marvin Johnson might come on board as a last moment signing, a loan deal or something. I don't know, but that's the only possibility. But there is no information at the moment. There's no indication that Ipswich are going to sign anybody soon. But stranger things have happened in that transfer window as the clock ticks down. So we wait with anxious anticipation.
Right, quickly before you go, Frank. Right, so we've signed 4 players in the window.
Yeah.
What would you give a rating out of 10 for this window for the transfer business?
Well, because it's a January window and because it's a seller's market, not a buyer's market, I would give 7 out of 10. I say 7 out of 10 because we've got Kieffer Moore.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. Anyway, Frank, hopefully we'll see you soon. Have a good week. And
I'm going to do my being Frank on football very late because I was waiting for this transfer window to go through. And then the Talking Town's on. I can't miss this, so I'll do it now. Catch you later.
Hopefully, might see you Sunday.
All right, look forward to it. Bye.
I've just dropped Colin. He couldn't find the link in the chat. I've just WhatsApped you, mate. So if you want to come on, it's Lee Anderson. As if by magic. Right. Yeah. How are you, mate?
I'm all right. All right. You okay, Tux?
Yeah,
good, mate.
Happy New Year, Lee. I don't think I've spoken to you since I don't know when I last spoke to you. You've not been on for a little while. We've got a great comment here. You're a fisherman, Lee. So this is from Hamish. Fisherman catches a 10 kg tuna. He throws it back in disgust as he wanted a monkfish.
Well, that's true. I think you get more for a tuna, but the monkfish are the ugly ones that taste nice, aren't they?
Well, what are you saying about Mike? Come on.
I'm not. I'm saying Mike can't catch a fish out of his own pond. I mean, let alone a 10 kilo tuna.
I have seen some of the fish you've caught, and you do put the fishermen to shame.
I know. I do.
Anyway, KIEFFER Moore is why we're here. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, if he's good enough for Big Mick McCarthy, then he's good enough for me, isn't he? Hey, I mean, he picks them out of the bag. He picked KIEFFER Moore out. I am joshing a bit here, but you know, he had a track record for bringing these players from non-league. I don't think we could do any better in this transfer window. He's a stopgap to the end of the season. He's a Premier League striker who scored goals at all levels. He's an international player. I don't think we could ask for any more. And would he have come in if Hurst had been injured? I don't know, but he'll certainly give us a focal point in the box. We missed that. We missed that in the game that we shall no longer talk about. I mean, that day we could have done with Freddie, couldn't we, in the box? We need that focal point, and Moore will give us that. So that's a big positive, really.
Yeah, I don't think he comes if Hurst is fit, Tux. If I'm being honest, I think we were looking for obviously one striker, which was rumoured could have been Stansfield. Obviously, couldn't get that done. Then they signed Al Hamidi, so that probably filled that box. I think if Hurst was fit, I don't see KIEFFER Moore coming and playing a sub role. He knows he's coming to town and he's going to play minutes, which he wants. At the stage of his career, 31, he needs to be playing now, doesn't he? And he's obviously, I think Wales have still got a chance to get to the Euros, haven't they? So it's probably important for him that he's actually playing football up until the summer.
Yeah, I think we still probably would have been interested, but I think it then comes down to the play if George Hurst was still fit. I think he just
announced Brandon Williams will be returning to town. We did say that last night. We dropped that on air. I'd heard on I think Tuesday morning 90% he was coming back. So that's good news. You think good news quickly, Tux? Brandon Williams back? Definitely.
Yeah, obviously been very good for a period of time. Obviously lost his way a little bit. Not really sure why he went back to United, but yeah, if he can, sort of recapture some of his earlier season form, is great fullback.
I think that's the business done. I think, Lee. I'd have thought now if Williams is returning,
unless someone goes out, because I think the squad's full, isn't it? I don't know where we would go. I mean, it's good that Williams has come back because he already had a place in the squad. So yeah, I assume I made a note here to talk about it. Really, he's not really a re-sign, is he? Because he was still probably on loan, but.
Yeah.
Or did he? Or did we have to release him back?
No, I don't think. No, I didn't think they'd released him. I just think he'd gone back to be assessed by United. So I think that loan continues.
But if we get the Brandon Williams from September, October till he got injured, then fantastic. But there's clearly things outside his injury that has caused him to go back that we don't need. That's down to him. But the club are keen to have him back. I think the fans are keen to have him back, and let's hope he can stroll on the pitch at Carrow Road in a couple of months' time and stick up the old budgies. So
it'd be great it'd be great, Lee, if we could get him back and fit and firing as he was. Like obviously Preston on Saturday when he scored the goal, didn't he, at home when he had that run from the halfway line. I don't know if you were watching when we done the transfer show on Al Hamidi. He doesn't actually count as one of the 25 because he was at the start of the year.
He's still under 20.
The start of last year. The start of the year where the season comes in, he was still under 20 then. So that's quite good, Tux, that he doesn't take a space up. It'd be interesting now who does Sonny Aluko drop out? I'm not sure quite where we are on numbers now.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what your thoughts were on Aluko, because for me, obviously, last weekend he really looked off the pace. Some of his touches weren't coming off and stuff like that. But you know, he's a bit part player now, and I feel like he's probably really only there for, you know, the dressing room and the kind of the culture of the club. But you know, at the end of the day, he's got to come and make an impact for the team on the pitch, and I don't think he's at that level anymore, sadly.
He's been a really good professional, hasn't he, Lee? We spoke about him on Sunday. It's a case of, for me now, the mind's still willing, but the body isn't, which is sad. But that is football, and I think you've obviously got Lee Evans. I think you can deregister. I don't think we'll see a lot more of him this season. He's on the way back, obviously, from his knee injury. But yeah, look, I think it's been. What would you rate the window, Lee, out of 10? Obviously, Frank give it a 7. I'd probably give it a 7 at the minute, because nobody knows sort of what's going to happen between now and the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, it depends what your baseline is on where you think it should have been. I would think that. So my understanding is, and reading the just before it came on from one of the Kings of Anglia guys about Ashton saying that he was on Moore was on number 1 target, and this deal has been in the waiting, and I think they've both commented, him, Moore and what's his name, has said that this has been in the making for a couple of weeks. So if it's who we wanted, then
because obviously they made a signing. They made a signing this morning, didn't they, Bournemouth? And I think this was sort of
that's what it was.
And they were also about Dominic Solanke. They were hoping to obviously keep hold of him, which they did. And I think people need to understand that, guys. When it's like that domino effect, isn't it, Lee? When you know one player comes in, and then it can all sort of fall into place, which it has. And you just have to be patient in January. Ashton said before, and we all know, not a great time to be signing players, is it?
No, I think so. See, I think where since Game Changer have come in, all our signings before were always been players that nobody else wanted. They're free transfers. Nobody else wants them. You can do your business early, and you're done. But when you're after players that other clubs want as well, and maybe a club doesn't want the player to go, you have to be patient, and you have to trust what Ashton and them are doing. And this has just been sitting there waiting in the wings. The trouble you have is it's a bit like buying a house, isn't it? If the person in the chain before you collapses, then what do you do on transfer deadline? We don't have that, but that's a risk that you can take, and that is not necessarily the fault of, say, Ipswich, if that would have happened here and the deal didn't go through because a deal collapsed elsewhere. A bit like the guy from America, isn't it? Come over to join. I saw on.
Well, to Blackburn.
And at Blackburn, was it?
Yeah, I heard he came over and he was staying in a hotel in Sheffield.
He was still on the plane, apparently, and the deal.
No, he was here. He was here yesterday, and he came over and his representative was chatting to Blackburn. He was in a hotel, and then that fell through. And then there was rumours he was going to go to Sheffield Wednesday, and then I think this morning it was back on at Blackburn. I don't know how that sits now, Lee.
Maybe. But going back to the question, I would say really, I would think it's 8 out of 10. I would say a little bit higher. What could we do with the money that we had? Have we got any more money? I don't know. So I think it's really positive, because let's not forget the other players that have come through the door as well. I mean, Travis has come in and hit the ground running when he's played. So that's another great filler to get him in when we did. So I think it's really positive again. I don't know what else more we could have asked for. So that's what I mean by the level. You know, what are you basing it on? It's got to be 8 out of 10. Unless go on, Lee.
No, go on.
No, I was just going to say, and then Al Hamadi. I mean, what an exciting talent he looks. Yeah, he's been doing it at League 2, but you know, people like Jamie Vardy and that were doing it in non-league football and that as well. So he seems to have a bit about him, adds a bit more pace. I think he will complement Moore quite well. So we're back to where we were at the start of the season. We've got that focal striker now, and we've got someone that can come on and stretch the play if needed. Later on in the game, instead of having to use Jackson, we've got maybe a bit more sort of rawness there, and a bit more being able to play off the cuff. So, we've got those options, and Sarmiento as well, if that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah,
he looks a bit of a baller as well. He scored 2 goals. So people saying 7, it's got to be. I think it's got to be more than that. More, good pun. Get that in.
Well done, Lee.
Yeah,
it's obviously harder, Tux, isn't it? Now we're in obviously a high division, whereas this time last year, going back to the fishing analogy, we were the big fish in the small pond, weren't we? We could have the pick of them players, whereas now, like Lee says there, you are in probably a fight when you see KIEFFER Moore. I think Tux there was obviously Cardiff were linked, Sunderland were linked. It's not just us. So you just have to be a little bit patient, and then obviously it's all falling into place. What would you give the window out of 10? Lee's giving it an 8.
I'd give it, probably a strong 8, maybe even 9. I think the only blot on the copy paper would probably be maybe Stansfield, but you can't have everything. For me, as I say, I think Moore was the number 1 target. We've got him. We needed someone to come in and replace Morsey for a couple of games. We got that, fairly decent sort of replacement. Brandon Williams coming back, that's great. Get the lad from Wimbledon. I think he looks like a really good sort of little player. So, as Lee said as well, it just adds another kind of sort of dimension to our attacking threat. Not so heavily reliant on probably like a Jackson to come and, chase the game for us potentially if needed. So, yeah, I think there's some really good business done. And I think, if you probably asked me the same question, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours ago, I probably would have said maybe, a 7, 6, 7. But the Moore signing transforms it for me because he was our number 1 target. And, I completely agree that, there is a bit of patience needed, and it is like a domino effect, as Lee said earlier, where, obviously Bournemouth were trying to sign a striker. We could only sign more depending on what they were doing and what was confirmed with their end. So, yeah, strong 8.
Yeah, you got Lee says 9. Ed's got an 8. Mark Bloomfields, he's just woken up in Brisbane. Lee, he says, what joyous news. Honestly felt we'd drawn a blank, and well done, Town. He says a 9 out of 10 window. Colin says a 9. So a lot of positive. Charlie 7. A lot of positivity in the chat. So it's all set up for a really good last half of the season, isn't it, Lee?
Yeah, I mean, look where we were 12 months ago to where we are again now. I think we just need to go out and enjoy it. And the squad is looking healthy again. I mean, the squad looked really, really tired when it came to the cup game, and you could see, you almost felt with the numbers that we had that, not that you want to get knocked out, but I'm not sure we could have coped with more of a cup run until, the squad looks really healthy again, like it did at the start of the season. The numbers are there. We've been fortunate with injuries in the first half of the season. Let's not kid ourselves. We've always been 2 injuries away from really struggling.
Well, it showed, didn't it, over that Christmas period when the QPR game, when you obviously had Davis was out, Hurst was out, and that team was really threadbare that night, wasn't it? And hopefully now, you have to be lucky, Lee, with it. You could be a good side, but you still got to have a little bit of luck with your injuries. And obviously, Morsey's been suspended. We haven't had actually no red cards this season, which is testament to us as well. So hopefully between now and the end of the season, we can get that little bit of luck. Everyone can stay fit. We've got so many options now. I totally agree with you there. You've got players now, whereas you had first half of the season, like Jackson coming off the bench, your Scarlets. You've upgraded now. You've got, obviously, Sarmiento, Lee. I think he's going to be a really, really important player going forward. I think he gives you that off the cuff and something a little bit different, running. You see a couple of times, I know it was Maidstone on Saturday, but the way he picked the ball up and he ghosted past 2 or 3 of their players. So I'm really excited to see what he can do. And we should all be really, really excited and get behind Kieran, get behind the boys and just give it a really good go. I know you look at the run that Southampton on, Lee, it's tremendous, but they've got them Premier League riches, and it's always going to be tough up against these teams with the parachute payments. But we are still in there. We're still right in the mix, and we've just got to pick up. If we can get 2 or 3 wins in about the next 4 games, just hang in there. You know, get to them last 8 to 10 games, and then nobody knows what happens, because that's when the pressure really squeezes on for me.
Yeah, it's about concentrating on ourselves. We look, Southampton on a great run. We went on a great run last season, didn't we? To get where we were. The club just needs to focus on itself and not worry about Southampton. You play your games and you get the points that you get. We've already broken records for the first half of the season, and and to be negative about that is bloody ridiculous in my view. If Southampton want to go win the next 10 games on the trot, then good luck to them. But we can't impact what they do. We can only
100%.
impact ourselves. So if we end up with whatever points we end up with, then we look at ourselves. We can't worry about what's around us. We just play with our way and see where it takes us. But yeah, it's really exciting when you look at Sacramento, and then you look at you referred back to the game on Saturday when him and Hutchinson came on. They're both playing not necessarily always off the cuff, but there was a lot of excitement there. You could see them starting to link up, and and if you've got the structure for the first 60-65 minutes, you've got Burns structured down the right hand side, and whoever now plays down the left hand side, and then you bring those two on. If you're chasing the game, you've got that, and you've still got someone like Moore, whether he starts or not, you've got that focal point in the box. You've got all sorts going on there, and we've not touched on what Moore might do for Chaplin. I don't,
Yeah, I said earlier in the show about obviously people saying about Nathan Broadhead. Obviously the form's dropped off a little bit, but I think he's. You had that. They interchange. They all play together. They all know where they are on the pitch, and I think Hurst, he made definitely Nathan Broadhead. Chaplin's a good footballer, but I think he definitely made Nathan Broadhead a better player, and I think hopefully Kieffer can come in and he can dovetail with. Look, he's obviously. They train together, play together for Wales. So there's obviously that little partnership there already. So hopefully they can work on that. I know you're not going to have a lot of... We've got a couple of Tuesday games, haven't we, coming up? I think in February.
Yeah.
So that you need to get that time on the grass on the training field. I know you've got Preston and then you've got the week, haven't you, coming up before West Brom. So I think that's an important week, because I think after that, I think you've got Millwall, haven't you, on Valentine's Day, and then the rearranged game against... I think Rotherham's the week after, so you're not going to be able to do a lot of training. And so hopefully he can... Do you see him starting Saturday, KIEFFER Moore, Lee?
Oh, there's a good one. I would say he's ready to start. The thing with Moore is, when you're playing, what's he brought in to do? He's not brought in to stretch and running behind, is he? So if the tactic is you want someone to run in behind, then will he start? Is he the player? He's an upgrade on Freddie, isn't he? So he's not that player that's going to do that run under Hurst, and he's not going to run in behind the same as Hurst can, because we touched on that earlier. So it depends on the tactics. I think he's ready to play. I think he could be put in there because his role in terms of positioning and working out the patterns of play, his is probably a bit more straightforward, because he's only chasing down the strike, the goalkeeper, that sort of thing, passing around the back. So his positional play is probably easier to work out. He's probably been doing some homework. It wouldn't surprise me if McKenna's already given him some videos to watch or something. I don't know. Give him some. I don't know.
I've just been given a message by Gov. We've got to wrap it up soon because he wants to go to bed. He wants to go to bed. But quickly before we finish, so KIEFFER Moore coming in, Tux. I think he could be a really important player for someone like Al Hamadi to learn off. Someone who's been round the block, had that experience. Starting down the league, started at Truro, and then he went Dorchester. He's been about. He's had. I think this is his 13th club, so he's going to be really key. I think with Al Hamadi, the next 4 months, I think he can really get in his ear, learn off him, and hopefully, obviously, become a better player for that.
Yeah. Well, obviously, he's learning from what is a Premier League striker, because he's just come from a Premier League club. So, yeah, you'd be silly not to kind of watch him in training and try and take some points from him. But that's not to say that they could at some point play on the same pitch together. So who knows? Who knows what McKenna's got up his sleeve with that sort of thing? But I think looking at the weekend as well, I do think Moore might start, and I feel like it's probably as in line with what Lee was saying, that if you want someone to come on and change the game, you're probably looking at a Al Hamadi to do that. But it just depends, I think, really on the tactics that Kieran McKenna wants to have for the weekend.
But we've got plenty of options now, Lee, haven't we? Like I've used before, you've got like plenty of clubs in the bag. A golf analogy.
Yeah, there's plenty of game changes there, and it's strength in depth again. I just going back to Al Hamadi, whatever he is, name is. You think where he's come from, and you think what he's going to step into for his first day of training, where this club is, the professionalism, all the coaches, the sports scientists, all that Premier League setup. That's all going to be very new to him. He's not going to have that where he's come from. The training pictures and everything else that goes with it. So that's going to, that can only hopefully inspire him. He seems like the sort of lad that will take it in his stride, but that's going to be exciting for him, So, yeah, just hope he can take that on board and hit the ground running. I think he's less likely to play early doors.
Yeah, he's off the bench. A quick one there before we close from ITFC Mad. Shout out to Ashton and his team. Got it done. Over to you, Kieran. Massive thanks to you, Lee, for jumping on. Frank, Phil, Tux, great to see you, mate. Martin will be back on Saturday after the Preston game with the match reaction show. And then we're back Sunday, me, Matt and Martin with the flagship show. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. Plenty of ITFC content to catch up on through the week if you've not seen us already. We got the Al Hamadi special. We had the cricket special last night. And then obviously this show here. So cheers for Tux and up the town, and we'll see you all soon.
You make me smile when I think of you. If I get down low and I get blue, I can't get enough. You make me happy, I feel so fine. Oh, how I wish that you were mine. I can't get enough. I woke up all soaked in sweat, weird chills running down my neck. I'm going crazy from just the thought of you.